Hi everyone. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Noamira Matamizi and my matric number 196863. So, today I would like to present to you all about the method of the bioremediation. But what is the bioremediation? As we all know, bioremediation is the branch of the biotechnology that employs use of the living organism like a microbe, bacteria in the removal of the contaminant, pollutant and toxin from the soil, water and other environments. Bioremediations may use to clean up the contamination groundwater on the environmental problem like the oil spill. Bioremediation work relies on the stimulating the growth of the microbes to utilize the contaminations like the oil, solvent and the pesticide of the pesticide for the source of the food and energy. This microbe convert the contamination into the small amount of water, well, a harmless gas like a carbon dioxide. The method that we can use for the bioremediation. For example, bioventing, biosparging, cell bioaggregations, gene bioaggregation, biopiling, biofarming, withdraw composting, bioreactor and biofiltration. So for my project in the bioremediation, I would like to choose the biofarming. Biofarming is a contamination soil is excavated and place it in the impermeable lime bed, and contamination of soil is periodically turned over to the aerations. So what is the biofarming or the landfarming? Is a typical medium to the long-term ex situ, which is biofarming is the ex situ method for the bioremediation. So we take the contamination soil and place it at the in the permeable lime beds. So how it do it? Contaminated soil is mixed with the nutrient. Biofarming does not they treat the contamination soil, but they also treat the disposal of the soil sludge and the oil detergent waste, and it's cleaning the surface soil that contaminations of the hydrocarbon and pesticides. I think I choose this because this kind of the method is a simple and cost-effective method. So I think I will choose it because nowadays we know that our economy is not well. So we can do the biofarming without waste our money. That's why I choose it. I choose the biofarming, and we know that it's not only used for the comminated soil, so it can also treat the oil sludge. So I think it's the best way that we can use for the bioremediation method. My objective is to reduce the petroleum hydrocarbon concentration in the contaminated soil, and also remove the organic contaminant mainly through their conversion to the CO2 and the water. Why I use the AC2? Because it will a short treatment time and easier to control the soil contamination and can treat the wider range of the contamination better than the AC2. So you guys know a little bit about the biofarming, right? So I will show to you guys and present to you guys how I do and handle this method of the biofarming. Let's see. So, first procedure is we need to transfer the contamination soil to the site. For example, like this, we can know this is the contaminated soil. So, we transfer it at the land which we use impermeable layer. That why we use the impermeable layer? As we all know, when it the permeable layer, the pollutant in the soil contamination does not pass through the impermeable layer, so it cannot pollutant and contaminate the groundwater. So I think it's the best way that we can preserve the pollutant in this place. When we transfer it to the site, and we excavated the contamination soil and mix it with the nutrient and bulking agent like wood waste. And we also can use the organic matter like that leaf and another metal. We need to do when we need to mix it with the bulky agent like a wood on the organic matter. This is because we need to supply the nutrient to the bacteria so they can go eat well to degrade the pollutant. When the contaminated soil is mixed with the bulky agent and the organic matter, we mix it until the layer is formed at the more than the 0.5 meter thick. Contaminated material is a periodically like in order to ensure that the appropriate aeration and the good homogeneity of the mixture. It will improve the contact between the contaminant and the organism. The bottom usually is covered by the clay, as we see at here is clay as a neutral, because to avoid the leakage of the leach and the consequence of the groundwater contamination. So we must place it with an impermeable layer. So in this model, we can see a beam, height beam, small beam is right up. So why we need to do this? Because when the small beams is right all along the perimeter of the treatment area, is to control the water runoff and avoid the cross contamination. So we can preserve the contamination at this only in this area. So the leachate store tank is function for they to treat the leaches, which is the oil sludge. So this is the way they treat the oil sludge. You can see in this model, I put some straw, the transparent straw in the layer of the clay, the impermeable layer. So this is called the drainage layer. So what is this? Drainage layer is function as is collect the leachage in the small well when the water is go down. So they collect of the leachage and is transfer it to the tank. So this is called the leachate storage tank. They supply it and they pump it to the leachate storage tank. So when we do the XC2 parameter, we need to control the moisture of the soil, right? So we do the water aeration or the spray system. You can see this it to maintain the moisture content in the soil and to supply the nutrient for the bacteria. So when we do the soil aerations with the large scale or less process when we use the tractor, so the dust formation is quite high and increased by the time. So how can we do to limit the dust formation, make air pollution? So how we will limit it? When we do the soil aeration, we have a spray system, right? So we spray spray with the water so we can limit the dust formation. The dust cannot go to the atmosphere and form air pollution. Soil aerations is performed either by the periodic tiling that can be performed manually or with the aeration equipment by the insulating air. When the site does not have a roof, so the soil aeration can it done by the wind that control the teaching of the contaminated soil into the withdraw or spraying the water to minimize for the dust formations. Prior to the treatment, the process which is crushing, shredding, and bending is ordered to improve the physical characteristic like the porosity. So we can see at here contamination soil, and this part when the porosity of the soil is increased than the porosity in this pipe. You can see. So we need to increase the porosity of the soil that the bacteria or the pollutant degrading bacteria can get enough nutrient for their growth and to destroy the pollutant. So this is a bad example when we do the treatment of the biofarming. the pack of soil make the air and the nutrient for the bacteria is decreased. Pipe upper the drainage layer. This is called the pipeline grid. What the function of a pipeline grid? Pipeline grid functions are to control the temperature of the soil when we do the treatment. As we all know, the temperature is important to the bacteria that they need to grow for the compost and degrade the pollutant. So, landfarming treatment facilities can be equipped with a temperature control system, compost a pipeline grid below the soil treatment like I showed before. This is the equipment pipeline grid below the soil treatment and connect to the hot water system. So, we can control it and monitor it when the temperature is low or when temperature is higher. So, this is the main point that we need to consider when we do the treatment of the soil contamination. Monitor very well the temperature of the soil itself. So, what I do is I monitor it 10 to 55 degrees Celsius, and it's good to the microorganism for growth. Furthermore, any landfill system with any configuration need a monitoring plan to control the biodegradation process and verify the reduction in the contaminant concentration. So, we need to carefully analyze of the groundwater and air quality are needed to show that the contaminant are contained with the treatment area that have no migrate into the environment. That is the this is the important thing also when we do the treatment, that we need to treat the soil. So we need to know that the element that the contaminant in the soil does not migrate into the environment and to the another place. We need to know when we do the land farming what the criteria, what the method, what the thing that we should do and study it first. First of all is we need to know the type of the soil, the pollutant, the igneous bacteria, use of the pollutant degrading bacteria, and the temperature. First of all, for the type of the soil, I will choose the sandy soil, which is with the soil, the type of soil, remove the percentage of the contaminant pollutant is the highest for another soil, which is 70%. So what I get from the soil is the type of soil is a sandy soil. As we all know, this is sandy soil. Then we should know what the pollutant in the soil contamination. So in my experiment, I use the petroleum as the pollutant in the soil contamination. Organic contaminants generally requires a consistent number of the aerobic and heterotrophic microorganism, which it can convert it to the CO2 and the H2O. So we need to examine and study what type of the microorganism that can convert it to the CO2 and the H2O. And to get the successfully biofarming treatment, we need to know the total heterotrophic bacteria should have a present at least 1000 CFU per gram by the dry soil. Prior to initiating the land farming process, it is important to study its feasibility by determining the type of the igneous microorganism present in the soil and their metabolic activity, the presence of the inhibitor, and the biodegradability. Land farming is the technology based on the use of the soil microorganism and the agriculture method in the aerobic environment to reduce the soil contamination. So that's why we need to consider about the what type of the pollutant, what the indigenous bacteria, and the use of the pollutant degrading bacteria. So we can do it well when we perform the treatment. Indigenous bacteria, as we all know, land farming has the distinctive advantage that it can stimulate the activity of the indigenous microorganism in the soil, which is already adapt to the presence of the contamination for the biodegradation. And what I use for the pollutant degrading bacteria, I use the Rhandococcus species, when which I search it, Rhamnococcus species is the best bacteria that can the best bacteria that can convert the organic compound like the petroleum hydrogen carbon to the CO2 and the water. So biostimulation should be preferred with the indigenous pollutant degrading bacteria. So I decided to use the Rhamnococcus as. So lastly, about the limitation. Of course, every method they have their limitation. So that's why they produce a type of the method. So for the Landfarming limitations, the condition is hard to control, like rainfall and temperature. So when we can control the condition of the rainfall and temperature, I think that is not the become a limitation for the land farming. As I mentioned before, when it rainfall, we can make the drainage system. The excess of the water will go to the leakage storage here, and the temperature when the sunny day or when the sunny day, the temperature is higher, we can control it. That I said before, we have the pipeline grid here and the straw, so we can control it. They have that's not the matter. The condition is hard to control. So the next limitation about the volatile contaminant must be pre-treated to prevent them being released to the atmosphere. So what I say, what we do it, like I said before, we do the spray system when the dust is formation, and we remit and we treat the formation of dust, and so we does not release it into the atmosphere. And also we use the type of the impermeable layer prevent from the pollutant to migrate to the environment, the side to the another environment, and the below for the groundwater pollution. So we try our best to treat the volatile contaminant. And again, it's tell the dust production must be controlled. The dust production must be controlled. Then I need to explain back that we have the spray system, so we can limit and decrease the formation of the dust to the atmosphere. So I think all the kind of the limitation we can improve it and not become a big problem to us and create another pollution like as air pollution, groundwater pollution, and another environmental problem. I hope that what I try to inform to guys, what I present to you guys, you get a little bit knowledge about it, about the why I choose the biofarming, the way method I do conduct the experiment, what the limitation and what the factor we need to consider when we do the biofarming. So I think you guys gain more knowledge about it. And I hope this biofarming we can use it wisely to treat the circulation for the environment. So that's all for me. Thank you for the listening, and bye.